It's Monday, August 10th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, HTTP proxies and how they're often messing up your jam.
Let's do this.
So I've upgraded every computer I have except my old laptop to Windows 10.
I've upgraded my laptop. I did that the unlegit way because it never got a notification.
It would have
I did
eventually.
that first
You should have just waited.
I did that first because there was nothing on that computer I cared about at all, so I could just erase it without worry. Then once the desktop got the notification and I learned all the deal that was going on, I did that one.
So you have what, an X220, right? What's your laptop?
Yeah, I think my laptop's an X220.
Okay, so I have an X230, and a guy at work has an X240.
Whoa, I didn't even know they went that high.
Yeah. so the funny thing is, the X240 is basically the same as my 230, just slightly shittier. So
I mean, I figure once it goes above X220, it just gets shittier, right?
The 230 is objectively superior to the 220.
It has the shittier trackpad and keyboard.
It's so much faster that the 220 is unusable.
Mine is
I
fine.
can edit Premiere Video and like render it out on my laptop.
I mean, the one I have at work, I think, is the 230, and
also, chiclet keyboards are fine. I don't know why.
It has the shitty trackpad, not the shitty keyboard, but I just don't use either one.
So you're saying the trackpad is shitty, and it is. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's not shittier enough than the shitty X220s to be worse. I mean, no Lenovo has ever had a good trackpad. Like, don't even.
The X220 trackpad is barely usable. The the newer, shittier one is unusable.
So I was able to get it from unusable to almost usable by changing some settings.
You know a good way to make it really awesome?
Buy a Fujitsu laptop?
No, buy a Mac Pro, which has the real trackpad on it.
The Fujitsus, like to this day, because I have an old Lifebook, my first laptop, I spent like $3,000 on that thing a long time ago.
Oh, those are like extra small in the days when the word Ultrabook didn't exist.
Yeah,
right?
like that laptop.
Yeah, those trackpads were good. They were better than the X220.
Yeah, that thing actually had an amazing. And so that laptop,
it was not amazing. It is not nearly an Apple
Actually,
trackpad.
I used it again recently because Emily brings it with her to like Kineticon just for like presentations and stuff. Because that laptop's actually fine.
Sure.
There's this old Core 2 Duo. That trackpad, if you average all trackpads in the world today, is one of the best. I would call it amazing. It's not the best, which is the MacBook Pro.
Are you counting like? You're just counting each kind of trackpad once, right? You're not counting every single Mac trackpad and averaging them all together because they've made a lot of them.
They have. The oldest ones weren't great.
Ever since they made the one giant trackpad, it's pretty much been incredible. I don't know how much you've used one.
I've used them, and that's why I said that is still the best one. However, if you don't want to spend that much money on a laptop and you want something that's quite like as powerful for half the money, then the Fujitsu.
I mean, if your trackpad is your purchasing decision, right? That's kind of weird.
Well, at this point, my purchasing decision is computers aren't getting faster and my laptop's fine, so I'm not going to buy a laptop.
That's what I'm doing. That's my also plan.
Like, I don't know what laptops will be like when I buy another laptop.
Just get an iPad, and then you really won't use your laptop unless you really need a keyboard or to do a presentation with something. And even then, you can get the VGA or HDMI output from an iPad. So
yeah. Thing is, what I use my laptop for...
Or the keyboard for the iPad.
What I use my laptop for the most...
is Civ 5, which an iPad does not do.
Number one, actually, is typing a bunch of shit.
All right, you can get a keyboard for the iPad.
I can. Number two is Civ 5.
Well, iPad doesn't do that.
Well, there you go.
You can get some garbage Civ game instead.
I'm hoping that... Well, we'll see what happens.
The only game that
Free Civ. Some Wesnoth and free Civ. That'll be my
only
games.
real game that counts as a real game, right? In the No True Scotsman kind of way. That you can get on iOS or iPad is Hearthstone, and that is a very random game. So
yeah, that's not going to scratch my.
I guess no, you can get a lot of board games. You can get T&E on there.
None of those things are going to scratch my Civ 5 itch when I'm like on a business trip.
I mean, there's like some Master of Orion clones, but in terms of things you can actually get opponents for or whatever, there is no Civ 5 on iPad.
Yep. So, but yeah, I've upgraded to Windows 10 everywhere, and everything has worked 100% fine. But I noticed a lot of people we know have had a lot of problems with Windows 10 upgrades. And the problems that were reported to me are, one, VirtualBox, the thing I talked about last week. Just use the latest unstable build and VirtualBox works fine. Adobe Creative Cloud won't work unless you have updated Creative Cloud sometime in the past like 3 or 4 months. So if you're not
people like
installed,
didn't update their Creative Cloud, they just installed it and it keeps saying, "Hey, update me," and they keep saying no.
dude. So I was Googling to make sure like Audition and like my FireWire chipset and the Mackie and all that nonsense would work in Windows 10 because there's even odds on that stuff not working that well. Like I was kind of
Sure.
worried. And one of the first things I found with this dude who was like, I've got Audition 3. Will that work on Windows 10? And someone else is like, there was a 3?
Is that pre-Adobe? Because most of the things that
That is right after Adobe bought the company that made Cool Edit and renamed Cool Edit Audition.
Oh, okay. Because
But-
like most of the things out there, like products from these big companies, Microsoft, Adobe, etc., were actually products by other companies beforehand, right? Everyone says Adobe Flash now. No one remembers Macromedia.
I had Macromedia Action 3.0.
Adobe bought Macromedia and turned all their products into Adobe products, and people don't remember Macromedia unless
Yeah.
they're old.
In fact, I had a class at RIT where I had to use...
Microsoft Visio, that wasn't made by Microsoft. It was made by some other company they bought, and then they renamed it.
I remember pirating copies of Director 7 and Flash to do projects at RIT.
Right, it's like all this stuff was made by someone else, and then these companies bought it, incorporated it, redid the UI. That's why even today you can see the ancestry of a lot of these long existing things. You know, like Adobe, the only thing Adobe made, as far as I know, is fucking Photoshop and Acrobat. I don't think they made any of that other stuff at all. I think they bought all of it. I think they might have even bought Premiere.
But a lot of weird stuff might not work. But like I saw a bunch of people were like, I can't get Fraps to work. And I was like, why are you using Fraps in 2015?
Well, the thing with Fraps, right, is...
OBS does exactly what Fraps does, way better and with less impact.
Well, Fraps has a bad UI, and so does OBS. They're even on that count.
Yep.
But Fraps, like, I paid, like, what, $10 or whatever it was for Fraps
I
a long
also
time
paid
ago.
for it back in the day.
And that license is a forever license. So
Yeah.
you feel like you paid for it, I'll just keep using this.
But what do you use it for? Because OBS does the same thing better.
But OBS is also bad.
Yeah, but better.
I just use neither one. That's
And
my
free.
solution.
Yeah, but I you know what I use OBS for even when I'm at work and like I'm doing like I have a build of like our software or whatever and I click on it and notice something weird. I'll just video it and I'll just record the window and I'll just attach it to the ticket and be like, yeah, that's a dumb interface. Fix it. So so I haven't updated my laptop yet. It's the last one, and
I haven't updated my HTTPC yet.
So yeah, HTPC actually is ready to update, and I might do that tonight.
I didn't get the notification on it yet.
But the laptop is Windows 7. It's a Lenovo X230. My coworker with the Lenovo X240 said he upgraded it, and half the hardware drivers just didn't like install, and now his laptop's just fucked.
That's really interesting because on my X220, I did the full reset, and when it fully reset and came back on, I noticed like there's a whole bunch of Lenovo stuff like in there. Like, oh, there's the Lenovo touchpad driver like already set up with everything.
But I
and
think
there's the special Intel graphics thing
I
already
think
set.
he also forced the update early, so
I did that as well on the laptop.
Yeah. So and you both had a little bit of weird problems that then eventually resolved themselves.
The only weird problem I had is because I reset early, right? I think that there's the media creator tool which you can use. You don't really need to. I haven't actually needed it yet, but I just did it because it's nice to be safe.
I'm going to use it.
It lets
soon.
you make a USB stick to boot off of, right? Which you don't really need, but it's nice to have.
Well, I'm going to use that to reinstall because I got right here a new SSD.
Well, you don't actually see. You can reinstall without the USB stick. What you can do is on the login.
I actually didn't know you could do that.
On the login screen or on just regular. Here, for example, do it right now. Click on your. Oh, don't do it right now.
Yeah.
You're using that computer to record this show. Click on it when you go to either click on Start and then power,
Yep.
or on the login screen, click on Power and hold Shift and click Reset. Don't just click Reset. Hold the Shift key and click on the Reset button in the menu there. It'll bring you to this special menu where you can basically click a button and say, reset my computer, delete all programs, delete all programs and documents and settings. And it's like two choices. And it'll just do a full reset of Windows.
Yeah, but I don't want a full reset. I want to install completely new on a different physical drive that currently is not in the computer.
I think you can do that if you interrupt the thing at the right time.
Yeah,
and
we'll
tell
see.
it to I haven't done that.
But I have that and a USB 3 PCI Express card here. And with those combined, I think my Core i7-920 is going to make it another year or two.
All right, maybe. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Even better. I saw there was a Slashdot thread, and people were talking about upgrading to Windows 10. And there was one heading in that thread that was someone being like, I have a Core i7-920, which is the processor I have. Should I buy a new processor? Like, is it worth it?
I have never in my entire life taken a CPU out of a motherboard and put a better one
Well,
in.
you can't. You basically have to buy a new computer.
Why? I mean, I'm sure when I bought...
The socket that a 920 goes into does not exist anymore.
Oh, no, I'm sure right. But I'm saying, for example, my computer, when I bought it, I got like an i7 3.5 gigahertz. I think there was available a more expensive i7 that was slightly insignificantly faster for hundreds more dollars that I could have bought for that same socket. I'm sure chips of that make exist in the world today, and I could acquire one.
Well, the problem is
I could take the CPU out of my socket and put in a slightly faster one made for the same socket.
The cycle of computer upgrading is long enough that by the time you think I could use a faster processor, you're going to buy a new motherboard anyway.
Pretty much.
But no, so all the responses were all these people coming out of the woodwork with low /980s who were all like, yeah, the Core i7 920 was like the best fucking processor ever, and there's really no reason to upgrade unless you're pegging your CPU all the time.
When I pegged my CPU and code in a video.
Yep, and even
then, the GPU's helping out.
Yeah, the GPU
because I'm using Creative Cloud
and disk I/O are the bottlenecks.
Well, I got SSDs, so I'm good.
I do, but not all SSD.
I got 2 SSD, Daddy 2.
So the Utena masters, like the video for just like doing our show there, that's like 80 gigabytes of shit just sitting there. Anyway, whole bunch of tech news I want to blow through real quick. But I guess we could talk about Scott's tech news first.
Well, it's sort of a big, mostly not tech news, but slightly tech news.
Oh, just before the show, you were like, it's tech news. You're trying to convince me this is tech news.
Part of it is. That's the part I want to talk about.
Mr. Business is not tech news.
It's not. So, all right, Google is like restructuring their business, which is business news.
In a big way.
Right. So they're basically changing... Instead of the company being Google, the company is now called Alphabet, and Google is one of the companies that is a subsidiary, along with others, such as... Google, I guess, what else do they make?
Well, there's
Google,
YouTube.
Google Fiber.
Nest is definitely going to be split separate.
Google Nest, right? Yeah.
So basically, they're going to have a holding company that owns a bunch of semi-independent companies.
Right. So, of course, the Google part, which is the search engine and the ads and stuff, has got a new CEO because the former Google CEOs are now Alphabet CEOs instead, etc. So that's all business news. No one cares. What's interesting is they chose the name Alphabet, which is a really common fucking word. And it fits their theme here of, Google B and G and Nest B and N. But all the stuff that's named Alphabet is already owned. All the accounts, all the domains, all the everything is already owned by someone, right? And it doesn't belong to Google.
So the question will be, one, Alphabet as a company, what will they own the trademarks to specifically? And will they even have a website?
Right, but there's are they going to have to fight someone for the DNS on this?
But that's business news, not tech news.
No, it's not. It's tech news.
How is that tech news?
DNS is a technology.
DNS is a technology. That is true. By that logic...
DNS battles are tech news.
By that logic, I can make literally anything a tech news.
But the rest of it is not tech news. It's business news.
I mean, tool use is technology that humans have learned 40,000 years ago.
Stop being a pedant.
Or what's that quote from Silicon Valley? Dude, you're being a tool. I need you to be an asshole, not a tool.
All right.
Anyway, because this is kind of like new news. The best guess I have as to why this is happening is a big fuck you to Europe.
Yeah, fuck you, Europe.
And I found a pretty good article that I have not read yet.
Give me your castles and take everything else and shove it.
So I skimmed this
also,
article.
Also, the tapestries better be in those castles. No taking them out beforehand.
I skimmed this article from a few days ago, and it's on Bloomberg Business, and you shall probably read it, but I didn't read it fully, so I don't know exactly what
TLDR.
it says. It's way long, but basically...
The longer, the more true it is.
Europe is at a hard-on for going after to destroy any American tech company that basically competes with their completely non-existent local tech industry.
Especially the Google, right? They're basically generally upset that this company that sort of is super important everywhere in the world and really, really affects, especially not only, their whole universe, but specifically the European economy, is an American company, and they have almost no control over it, and all their extra super European regulations don't apply to it.
Like their bullshit right to be forgotten, and their all these weird advertising things, and the fact that they don't have freedom of speech, and all this nonsense. So Google has been mostly giving them the finger, and from what I gather,
Google gave China the super finger way back, right?
So Google seemed to have had come to some sort of accord with them. But apparently that deal broke down, and that might be why. This might have been their contingency plan. because this structure might make it a lot easier for Google to tell Europe to rightly go fuck itself. I really do not want Europe to break Google up, nor do I want Europe to have really any control over the internet.
Google should just say, fuck you, Europe. You know what? If you don't like us, fine. No Google for you. And then Europe will have to do whatever Google says and everything will be set right. And Google shouldn't have to, why even bother trying to like work through legal loopholes or other nonsense, right? It just make Europe change their law to be what you want it to be.
So what
and
do?
if they don't,
Fire all the people you like have working for you in all these
you just give
European
them a little
companies?
whisper, right? And you just stop. You keep paying those people even, right? Who cares? Just cut off all Europe. No one can search. And be like, make the law exactly what we want, or else we're not turning search back on. Fuck
if you did
Europe.
that, Scott, as much as I think that would be kind of funny and awesome, you might be guilty of basically racketeering.
So deal with it. What are you gonna do about it?
Arrest your employees.
Just you're gonna start arresting Google employees
They
in Europe?
could.
They had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but they can't get you. They'll Al Capone you. You can't. No one in
I'm
your
in the
executive
U.S.
board.
I'm Larry Page. What are you gonna do?
You can never visit Europe. They'll arrest you. You'll never be able to see castles.
they don't have any Google. Fine. Who's got the worst end of this stick?
But
They won't know how to find the castle without Google Maps.
this is news
They won't know how to find me without Google Maps.
that is still very emergent, so we will talk about this at length later. And normally, we would just not talk about it
I'll go to
until-
Europe and they'll say, cops, go to the airport and arrest Larry Page. I can't get to the airport. I have Google Maps.
Yeah. They're like, wait, so where does Larry Page even live? They go to Google. Oh
Larry
no.
Page's European castle address. Fuck.
I imagine get Larry Page's tweets. He's like, hey, I'm in, and he names some city in like France. He's like, can you even find that city on Bing?
Yeah. The one cop who lives in the city comes knocking on the door, and Larry's like, wait, don't arrest me. I'll let you do 2 searches. Oh my God, I need to search for something so bad.
But normally we don't talk about like news that breaks like pretty close to our dateline on Geeknights. But this is actually pretty big, so we'll talk about it at length once the dust settles a little bit.
Right.
But my money is on. This is a big fuck you to Europe.
I don't think Google can lose
Yeah.
in any fight with anybody.
Well, they'll have the robots and the self-driving car. Self-driving cars should start delivering poop.
drones dropping poop.
So a bunch of little newses. There's 2 newses that I noticed that they weren't related to each other, but I think they're actually very closely related because I noticed in like stock stuff and just work that pretty much all like Disney had a big drop and a lot of companies that I would generally like.
Disney have a big drop. They're basically owning pop culture and
Yeah,
buying up everything.
What I gathered
Isn't
is
it just
that
the market going down?
No, the
And-
market's fine. The sector that got hit was anything that has a big interest in cable networks, television networks.
Of
those
course,
kinds of
because people are
things.
cutting the cord like crazy.
So there
That
are 2
makes sense.
newses.
Yeah, Disney's got a lot of TV action.
Yeah, they'll extricate themselves
ABCs,
in my opinion,
ESPNs,
Yep, they'll be
Disney
fine.
channels.
because Disney will move to the internet. Hasbro is moving to the
Listen,
internet.
this is only good news because the faster this happens, the faster they'll stream.
So, basically, there's an article here talking about how the cord cutting, like we all knew it was going to happen. It was happening. It was moving fast. A lot of people don't pay for
We
cable.
cut the cord a long ass time ago.
Yeah, a friend of
Like
ours the other
10
day was
years
like,
ago.
messaged me. He's like, I thought you had cable, and I was like,
What the fuck?
I haven't had cable in like 2 decades.
I haven't had cable since 2000. It's been 15 years.
and I didn't watch cable since
Only
like
my
1997.
roommate watched soccer on that
Yep.
cable. And
Football.
And I watched, I think, like maybe one show once. I think I watched The Simpsons once.
So cord cutting accelerated relatively recently, faster than even people like us expected. There was like a huge jump.
Maybe
And
old
I'm
people
not-
are dying.
Well, I think what it might be is that another wave of people graduating and moving into college. Like, remember when we
Isn't
got
it
to
the
RIT?
same number every year? It's a.
So
what
it
do you mean wave?
Yeah, but the wave that just came in, because remember when we went to RIT, like the cable companies.
Oh,
were
you're
like,
saying so compared to last year?
Yeah.
Those college graduates, the ones this year, a smaller percentage of them need television.
Yep, and I think a smaller, like the people coming into college are even like cable. Why would I even want cable? Like, I think it suddenly hit real hard. And the sector
it's
that
just
got
old
hit the
people dying.
worst, which I didn't even think about because it's just so sad, pay-per-view still exists.
Yep.
And basically it dropped down to negligible numbers.
Well, because if there is a pay-per-view, right, it costs so much money, there's such a high incentive to just pirate that shit. So hardly anyone pay. Even people who have cable are going on the internet to try to watch that shit. They don't want to pay $150 to see some garbage boxing match.
In fact, I think that boxing match specifically caused a lot of older people who never thought about piracy to ask the grandkids how to get to that pirate bay.
And also, even when there is something worth seeing, like, say, a Ronda Rousey fight, you can just see it the next day on YouTube. It's like a minute long.
So at the same time, there's another article. Ad block usage just recently skyrocketed. Like I said, over the past 12 months, it went up 41% globally.
Pretty good.
So, like, people are starting to use ad block rapidly. I think advertising as a revenue stream between TV and internet is gonna just like fucking explode any day.
Good.
All right, bunch of other stuff real quick. Scotland just banned genetically modified crops.
Fuck you, Scotland.
For literally no reason, and even the farmers are like, you literally just destroyed our entire market,
so
guys.
no fancy, you had to get natural, disgusting potatoes that die immediately. We're not allowed, all right? What counts? What counts?
So you know what's even funnier? Only Scotland did it, not England. So basically,
so all the Scottish money is going to be going into England.
Also,
or people in Scotland are going to be eating disgusting vegetables.
I also didn't read. I'm curious what
really
their definition
quickly.
of genetically modified crops are, because what
did they? What did they write in their law?
I didn't read the law because it's some horrible European law.
It probably just says like, "Oh, don't eat the corn."
I'm not even going to dignify that Scottish accent with a response.
Oi, laddie, play the bagpipes next to the cornfield.
That's Willis time. So I'm going to skip all these other tiny newses because we've already gone on for a while. But there's the last one I want to talk about is this is super tech news. So, okay, I got two. To actual tech news, not business news like what Scott wants to talk about. There is a problem with Linux servers that is getting worse. We need, for modern security and cryptography, a lot of entropy, like randomness. Like, if you know the difference between dev random and dev urandom, you should. Dev random will block if it runs out of entropy. Dev urandom will give you some bullshit. It's seeded.
Yep.
So you refill dev random by basically reading entropy. And there's a lot, that's a big topic we can't really talk about now.
Talk to someone who knows about math.
Servers generate entropy, but modern Linux servers, for a variety of reasons, don't generate enough entropy anymore.
So if you ask for too many random numbers too fast, eventually the numbers you get, either you won't get any more numbers or you won't get numbers that are actually random enough anymore. And then you'll be in big trouble security-wise because like you'll start generating predictable keys or predictable encryption or who knows what.
So we're generating less entropy and simultaneously...
Or you just won't be able to send any more data.
Yeah, we need the entropy way more for modern computing and security.
Right. So like a faster CPU helps, but doesn't help enough. You really need like an entropy source, like a block of cesium or who knows what.
Well, you can buy cards that are entropy generators.
Right. You know what's
them.
in there? Fucking some radioactive thing.
Well, no, actually, a lot of them use temperature diffs, like temperature deltas and stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, random.org uses like atmospheric pressure. They have like a thing on their roof that's like, got like barometers or something. It's pretty interesting.
Qantas TRNG. I just Googled the first one. Oh, yeah. Hear that, Europe? I Googled it.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I found a company. Check this out. It's a PCI Express card.
What's
Qantas
in there?
Random number generator by exploiting a quantum optics process.
Ooh. See, there are many interesting sources of entropy in the universe, which is really kind of easy to find sources of entropy considering, things are becoming more entropic all the time.
Yeah.
But, the cooler your source of entropy is, the more your sales will be.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, would you rather buy the quantum optics random number generator or the atmospheric pressure random number generator?
So I'll
which
say
one's
this.
cooler?
If you're like a system administrator in a place that matters, it's worth it to you to make sure if like your company writes software that runs on those servers, if they're abusing random when they could get away with urandom, because you don't want to pump that
I pretty
pool
much
dry.
always use urandom unless there's a problem.
Yeah, so I noticed one of my software things that uses random. Like I noticed a thing that opened it and was drawing from it. And I went to the developer and was like, why are we using that instead of urandom? And he was like, So I said, change it to urandom. And last but not least, North Korea
But there's no technology there. They have a really bad internet and missiles that kind of suck. And
is switching to a new time zone that they just made up.
What do we even? What does
That
it even matter?
means-
What does
so-
it even matter to us? What time it is in North Korea
So now
at all?
Java has to have an update because Java has embedded time zone information.
No, you don't need to update that because no one in North Korea uses Java.
But
And no one outside of North Korea has any program that cares what time it is in North Korea.
you might. What if you were doing some sort of spy bullshit and your spy bullshit thing keeps track of times in GMT like it
The
should?
NSA can
or
write a
UTC.
patch for themselves. They don't need us to work on this garbage.
You're gonna write a yeah. So Java Java has embedded zone stuff. So
Now everyone with Ubuntu's got to do like apt-get update to get new user times, whatever.
which this has-
user
so-
share zone info.
So this actually fucked me not that long ago.
what
when-
you got? You're trading stocks with North Korea?
No, not North Korea, but Venezuela, a similarly non-connected
They
place.
change their time zone.
They changed their time zone shit, so daylight saving time happened at a different time, and basically a lot of people didn't like get the like update 70 whatever of JRE 7, and a bunch of shit stopped working.
Wouldn't there just OS's time zone info take care of that?
Except people never update that stuff. No, almost no one who runs Linux servers ever actually does like yum update all or whatever equivalent.
Well, I make sure my time zone info
So yeah,
is important.
North Korea announced that it's winding its clocks back by a half hour.
For what reason? They just want to be different and be jerky?
Yes, so they're now UTC plus 830,
Okay.
different from South Korea, and
Is South
they.
Korea 8 or 9?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because my servers take care of that.
Okay.
And they're doing it to mark the 70th anniversary of the Korean Peninsula's liberation from Japan's colonial rule.
That's a way to have a celebration. Change a time zone because you can't afford any other kind of celebration with actual like confetti or feasts or anything.
So, two things. One,
change the
I
time
suspect that the political maneuver is they're trying to bully South Korea into moving so South Korea can be like, yes, we are committed to unification. But at the same time, South Korea is technologically savvy and is not stupid enough to so pointlessly disrupt the job of people like me.
Everyone sleep an extra half hour for no reason?
Yeah, here's the thing. If South Korea changed, everyone in South Korea who's like me would be like, I'd have to do some bullshit. And no one else would care. And two, it doesn't affect anyone in North Korea, I don't think.
They don't even have watches.
Things of the day. So I did watch the last episode of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
I should watch that at some point.
It's pretty good. Do you know what the premise is of the last episode?
He has a premise? I thought it was just any old episode with some special farewell.
It actually isn't. Pretty much, they get everyone who's ever been a correspondent on the show, even like Craig Kilborn, like everyone
Craig Kilborn
comes back.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them just send a video, but
okay.
there's a montage of like.
Does he still tell you what the news for that day?
So the best part is there's a point where he starts crying, and he cries so bad they cut to commercial and they cut it out. So he lost it and had to like recollect himself. And he got so choked up he actually couldn't say his final goodbye at the end. He was like, okay, thanks, and he leaves.
He's a short little Jew man.
Yep. It's a pretty good
And if
thing.
you didn't want to go, you didn't have to go. You could have just kept doing it.
I sadly think this might be effectively the end of The Daily Show's relevance, independent of if Trevor Noah does a good job.
People said that when Craig Kilborn left the show,
I
so
know.
I am reluctant to say the same now.
But here's the thing. I think the only thing keeping
I am a
the
person
show
who
going,
learns from the past and also accuses people of not learning from the
No,
past.
I-
So I cannot refuse to learn from the past.
I think the show's format is obsolete in the modern era, and the slightly longer format of John Oliver's show is better for the purposes of this kind of thing. And I wonder if The Daily Show as a format will survive. I think either the format needs to change. Well, the format needs to change.
changed when it switched to Jon Stewart. It can change again.
It actually didn't that much. They got rid of 5 questions because Craig Kilborn, I guess, owned that or something.
Well, that was stupid anyway.
Yeah, it was always really stupid, actually.
That's to say, it's like Letterman. You can have your top 10 list. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, I'll do top 11.
Yeah. Fine.
But the other thing is Comedy Central not doing so well.
It's television.
Yeah. I think the infrastructure of The Daily Show might not survive, and a show like it, produced out like Penn Jillette style on someone's own is gonna replace it at some point or something. I don't think the show format as it stands is gonna survive, no matter how good Noah or Trevor
Actually,
Noah
like a
is.
day or two after the last show, I guess last Friday.
Yep.
Coincidentally, right, I got out of work at 3, but Netrunner doesn't start until 6. So what I've
Yep.
been doing is just like walking over to the river and laying in the grass for 3 hours.
That's a good thing to do.
And then going to eat dinner, and
That's a
then
real good thing to do.
but I happened to pass by Ye Daily Show studio,
Yep.
and there was some people with ladders like up in the awning, like,
Oh.
and I was like, all right.
I'm glad I saw the Daily Show a few times in person, so I'm glad I got to do that.
I've seen enough Daily Show.
It's really weird when you see it in person, though, because the lighting is all like low and red, and they do a weird process to make him look human.
Listen, if you smoke that much, you're
Yeah.
not gonna look right.
So yeah, my thing of the day is a time lapse of the entire run of the Daily Show of Jon Stewart's face, and it's actually pretty good.
Mm.
It's weird seeing how young he looked when he took over the Daily Show.
Go watch Jon Stewart.
Oh my God! So I just clicked on it, like from the very beginning of the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and one of the first things I saw was Darth Maul.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time
Yeah.
since those things happened.
But I mean, go look at Jon Stewart on MTV.
Yeah, I feel like he was our generation's Johnny Carson.
Maybe.
Name someone else. Name anyone else.
America doesn't have people like that, but there are other countries that have people like that.
Oh well, we had Johnny Carson.
Yeah, but I meant in this generation, right? There are other countries who have people who are like for that country on the Johnny Carson level, where like literally everyone. in the
Whoa!
whole
I just noticed
country-
something. So to keep Jon Stewart's face in the same spot, there's a long arrow where the like the the letterboxing on the left and bottom is slowly growing as you see them like slowly moving where they point the camera. It's interesting.
I mean, you can't point the camera in the exact same spot every day.
Yeah, but there was a progression where it moved for a while, and then starting about 2/3 of the way through, it never moves again.
Maybe they, worked on their camera. I don't know.
Anyway, this is really cool to watch. Oh man, it's SD back then.
So we know the paintball and the airsoft. Those are respectable, awesome activities of awesomeness that we simply don't have time, money, space, effort.
Airsoft is illegal in New York City.
Yeah, it's city, sure. But, there's a lot of those awesome things in the nerd world that we would like to do. And you simply, as a nerd, cannot do everything, right? You have to choose your battles, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to watch Evangelion for the 3rd time, and if you're going to play some Counter-Strike, and you're going to record a podcast, and you're going to make a Gundam model, you pretty much are going to ride your bicycle around, and you're going to take photos of stuff. You cannot also do airsoft and paintball. There's only so much in your life. So,
Unless you're independently wealthy.
sure, and you don't have to work. But anyway, even then, you have to choose, right? You just choose more things. There is a third thing besides paintball and airsoft that may be better than either of the other two. And that thing is this. This YouTube video is pretty popular this week. It is basically airsoft/paintball, except archery. That's all you need to know. It also appears to have rules. At least I don't know what the actual rules are, but watching the video, you can make a really educated and intelligent guess, unless you're a moron. It seems to be a lot more interesting and skill-based in addition to being archery instead of paint or airsoft. And the best part is, you don't have to keep buying ammo and shit. You buy a bow, and it seems like you can just use a normal fucking bow, like just a recurved bow, and you get this, arrows that won't kill people because they're all doofy on the end, and you're all set. You don't need to keep buying paintballs or pellets or whatever it is. So that's kind of, if I was going to do one of these, if I became independently wealthy, I would choose this one.
Have you done archery any time in recent memory?
I have done archery at every time I was ever at summer camp ever.
Alright.
I did extensive archeries whenever I went to summer
Archery.
camp. So
In the meta moment, the book
also at RIT I did archeries as
club-
well.
I got to reset. I was doing my micro machines thing. In the meta moment, the book is fantasy book, the novel.
The Eye of Zawaldo.
Yep.
I haven't found the eye yet or the world part, but I found all the other parts.
Yeah. I still want the one kid to die because I'm just bored with him and he's annoying. And the wolf kid's pretty chill. And I wish he'd just be like, okay, I guess I'm a wolf person and just live with it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
PAX is really fucking soon.
Yeah, like in a few weeks.
If you are not at the PAX Prime of Seattle, who are you?
So,
Why?
Sunday, the far future of gaming. Monday, sports are games.
Yeah, PAX is 4 days, bitches.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Like, PAXs are
and
fun.
that's, you know what? It's not even Labor Day this year. I forgot to take the Monday off, so I just had to add it today.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking off because I'm flying up there Tuesday to go to PAX Dev Wednesday, Thursday, then PAX Prime Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then I'm going to Portland to lecture at Kaifu on Wednesday. I'm flying home to New York the next Thursday.
I think I'm going in Wednesday and oh no, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? I think I'm coming in Thursday and going home on the Tuesday.
Yeah. Good times.
Mhm.
I'm feeling this PAX. Like, I like other PAXs a
This
lot,
is gonna be a big PAX.
but PAX Prime is just the PAX.
The PAX.
I'm gonna go stand at that video ball booth and play video ball for a while.
Video Ball's probably gonna be out soon. They might even put it out at PAX. I wouldn't put it past them.
We gotta form our team.
The thing
We
is,
need a
Video
logo.
Ball's got a lot of competition coming from Rocket League.
I know.
Very similar kind of things, only one's 3D.
I feel like they'll end up being orthogonal for reasons we'll talk about on a Tuesday episode.
Maybe, but will Video Ball get the audience?
It'll get the
Or
good
will
audience.
it be a Nidhogg?
It'll be like the people who watch F1 versus the people who watch NASCAR.
Anyway. Ooh, that was weird. Okay.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. My phone happened to be against this piece of metal when it
Yeah, I heard that
vibrated.
noise. I was about to stop the show and be like, "What's going on back
But
there?"
it was just my phone, but it was just next to something that made worse noise than usual.
All right, HTTP proxies.
So I was just thinking about technologies, and this one has come up a lot lately because I was installing lots of softwares and configuring lots of softwares with Windows 10 and various things, and I kept seeing in pretty much every software, there's always this configuration panel to set up HTTP proxy, and it's something I never ever do. But it came to mind. I was thinking about show ideas, and HTTP proxies were on the mind, and I'm like, you know what? Those do not only can we talk about HTTP proxies, we can talk about proxies in general. Also,
Socks. You want to talk about socks? I used to do a
No,
lot of socks.
we don't want to talk about that. We just talk
Socks
about,
even listed on the Wikipedia article. Quote, Socks also forwards arbitrary data after connection phase and is similar to an HTTP connected web proxies.
Sure. But there's so much things involved in this one technology. I was like, hey, we could do a whole show about this. So, first of all, what is a proxy? So, you have a server. The server is serving something. You then have a proxy server. Just like you would have a proxy card if you're playing Magic the Gathering, where you just take a piece of cardboard and write down, Force of Nature on it.
It pretends to be the server in some sense,
Yes.
but sits in front of it.
Exactly. So it's not totally replacing it, and standing in. It's sort of, I want to talk to this server that Rim's got, his Counter-Strike server. Instead of talking directly to his Counter-Strike server, I talk to this other server, and that server then talks to the Counter-Strike server, and then it forwards the communications between us. It's basically an intentional man-in-the-middle attack when you think about it. There is this other server between you and the server you actually want to talk to. Now, obviously, this can be used for a man-in-the-middle attack, which is really bad because then suddenly you type in google.com and you see porn.
Now, it is often used as a man-in-the-middle attack well, let's talk about HTTP proxies first.
Right.
Because
So an HTTP proxy specifically is a proxy, just like I talked about for the Counter-Strike server, only for web servers. So you try to visit some website, and instead of your GET request going to the server that has that website, it goes to some other server. That server may or may not get the website, forward your request along to the original website, and then it'll send you a response. Maybe it'll send you the response that web server sent back, or it'll send you whatever the fuck it wants. So instead of browsing the actual web, you're browsing the web as this proxy server wants you to see it.
So for most of history, when these existed, they existed in...
They still exist.
Well, yeah, but like when they existed in that history, they existed in one place. At your school, work, place of business, it'd be sitting there intercepting all your web traffic because they configured it in the browser.
Yep.
And it would, one, be blocking porn sites, and two, logging everything you did so you'd get in trouble later if you went to weird stuff.
Exactly. So you set up a LAN, and you have all these employees or students or whatever, and you set up the routers such.
Most schools in the 90s didn't actually block. They just configured the browsers
Right,
to use
when
the
people weren't
proxy.
any good at this. But now, if you're smart, you will prevent people from directly accessing the internet from their computer. So any traffic that they want to send to the internet gets routed to this server that's in your building, and that server usually is, behaving nicely. You configured it to be a nice HTTP proxy where what it does is, filtering. If a request comes to it and it's for a domain that it doesn't like, it just won't honor your request and will send you a response that's like, hey, no visiting that porn site. But usually it'll send your request to Google, get the response from Google, send you the response. Sure, it'll log where you went and who went there and such and such. It'll also do some nice things like keeping a local cache, so the next person who makes the same request will get the same response without having to actually ask Google again.
Yep. So, in the old days, like, especially back when bandwidth was kind of limited,
Mm-hmm.
if you had more than one nerd living in a house, one of the nerd, like, especially at a university, one nerd would be like, hey, guys, I set up a squid proxy, and everyone connect to it.
Right, and that it actually saved you a lot of bandwidth and such, and you could set,
when we lived in our house, right, I'd go to Slashdot, then you would hit F5 on Slashdot.
and it wasn't like websites were so dynamic then as they were now, where every person's logged into Facebook and everyone's seeing something completely different.
Yeah, guys, it was Web 1.0.
Right.
Like, Web 2.0 didn't exist yet.
So when I visited Slashdot, when Rim visited it, we saw pretty much the same thing.
And we just kept hitting F5, like, it
Yeah.
wasn't...
So these HTTP proxies are, because most of the things you do with your computer are HTTP, right? You're visiting websites, doing web stuff. So an HTTP proxy can be used for great, great good or great, great evil and everywhere in between. There's so many things you can do with them. We probably won't even be able to touch on half of them in this show. But caching for performance reasons is one of the good things that you can do with one of them.
So one of the bad things they do is what companies can do is if like HTTP, SSL doesn't work through a web proxy natively usually. depending on how
Exactly,
it's set up.
because, well, you could set one to just be like, okay, someone's using SSL, just let them go through.
You
right?
could do that, or what some people do is, and I've seen companies do this. Like
Yup,
I've physically
I've seen
observed
people do this as well.
because they control the computer you use at work.
Mhm.
They install a fake certificate to every major website like Google or whatever, like a root, like bullshit certificate.
Yep.
And then they run that on the proxy server and they take all your traffic. Like, yeah, I'm Google.
Yeah, your browser thinks that it's using SSL because you're communicating with the proxy server with encrypted SSL. The proxy server is decrypting everything because you're using its certificate, not the real Google certificate. So your browser says like green light, Google, A+. It doesn't know. There's no way it can know that that's not cool. And now whoever's running the proxy server can see everything you're Googling because they decrypted all your traffic. And then they may or may not pass that on to Google, encrypted or unencrypted, using the real certificate. It doesn't matter because they've man-in-the-middled you and they see everything.
And they can do this because they have root on your PC and you probably wouldn't even know. And you can't even tell unless you inspect the
these
certificates
HTTP proxies,
and know what to look for.
HTTP proxies these days, especially on the LAN, are so fast that if you put it on appropriate hardware with appropriate network speeds, you won't even know you're being proxied.
Yeah, like no one has to set this up in the browser anymore. It's on the network level. You wouldn't even know it's there.
Yep. Exactly.
You can inspect the hashes of the certificates, I guess, and figure it out. But
Mhm.
most people, so I think a lot of people are probably listening to this at work tomorrow, and they're like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't be on this website."
If you maybe shouldn't be on that website at work, you maybe should be fired and deserve it. So, you know.
Well, you might be working for a company that is weird. Like I
you
read
should be
Ogloff
working for a different company.
every Monday at work. I read Ogloff, but
I don't read Ogloff at work.
Why not?
I mean, I watch YouTube at work. I read Reddit at work. I don't need to look.
Thing is,
Ogloff.
I wouldn't read Ogloff at work like if someone was standing behind me looking at my monitor, unless I was showing it to them.
I don't read Ogloff at work.
Also,
I might read another webcomic at
I'm
work.
rude on my own PC. So.
Yeah, me too. But I still don't read Ogloff at work.
Eh.
Anyway, other things that you can do in HTTP proxy. You can get fun, right? So there's lots of fun things that you can do, which may or may not be evil. For example, someone visited a website. You pass along that request to the original website, frontrecruiter.com. You get a response from frontrecruiter.com. Now the proxy has to send a response back to the original user so their browser can render the page.
Oh, look, let's flip all the images upside down because that's funny.
Yeah, you can modify the data that is coming back from the real web server in any way you want. Let's replace every image with cats.
There is, in fact, a famous old story on Slashdot that I'm pretty sure was legit because people have done this. Like, it's not hard to do. Like, it's all feasible. Of having, like, if you see a neighbor stealing your bandwidth because they're using your open, like, they cracked your web or whatever in the old days.
Make a proxy.
Just make all their images be upside down, and they will never be able to troubleshoot that.
The thing you can do is you can make, like, all domains get reversed. So they'll have to type in, like, lgoog.mock, and you switch everything around all the time. You can do stuff like that too. You can do pretty much anything that you can imagine.
If you're a bunch of nerds sharing a house, set up a proxy that blocks ads there.
Yeah, it's actually a really great way to do ad block because now you save the horsepower on your computer from doing it. You also block the ads not only in, because if I use ad block, for example, on my computer, then in that browser, Chrome, which has ad block installed, I'm blocking the ads. And my computer is doing the work of blocking those ads. If I have an HTTP proxy set up, it's not only blocked in that browser, it's blocked in every browser. It's blocked in every HTTP request on my entire network that goes to the internet has the ads removed from the response on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your Android device, on devices that usually don't have ad block, your Xbox, right? These are all making HTTP requests to get ads. You can block all those on the proxy level. And all these devices, which usually you have no control over and are serving up ads, won't have ads, at least if they're on your LAN behind that proxy.
Yep.
And that is a real good, that's probably the best thing you can do with
So
HTTP
ads,
proxy.
forget ads. You can block malware.
Sure. Why not? Right? The malwares will often, some of them use non-HTTP, but most of them will be using HTTP requests, outgoing, because they're trying to tell some web server about your computer or who knows what. You can just block all that. Install some kind of filters or intelligent monitoring to see and be like, why are these HTTP requests being made? No, I'm not using any computer right now. What's going on? Proxy, do something about this. Done.
So if you are malware, one of the common ways for malware to work is basically to proxy all your traffic that it can through some dodgy server somewhere and steal all your info.
Or just install a HTTP proxy on your local machine, have your local machine use a proxy installed on itself.
Yep, which is real easy to do.
Right? I mean, most of the traffic that people are interested in is HTTP, and most of the things people do are HTTP, so proxying that is the most useful and the most interesting.
Yeah.
And there's so many things go over HTTP that aren't just websites. It's just, you can get really crazy.
Now, if you're in enterprise or server, software side, a problem often with these proxies is that they detect malware and whatever, and they throttle bandwidth and everything. Mm-hmm. So you might make an application or a web service or something that works great in your lab, and then you tell the corporate sales or whatever people to connect to it, and stuff breaks in weird ways. Or it's
their proxy might be caching it.
Yep, it's really slow for some reason. It's like the application connects, you can ping just fine, but then when they connect to the HTTP port, the one widget just doesn't load because the proxy's blocking some, but not all, of the HTTP traffic.
Right, you carefully crafted this fancy JavaScript application and all, right? But then the proxy modifies the HTML, the CSS, or the JS that the client is actually receiving, and now your application doesn't work. It's not cleanly delivering to them what you gave out.
And if you don't understand how proxies work and all that, this will be an infuriating problem because usually network issues are, I can get to the host or not. Mm-hmm. I can connect to the port or not. Here, you're connecting to the port, but inside of that connection, individual little bits are being fucked up. Real hard to troubleshoot. So you pretty much have to have this heuristic in your head of, wait a minute, is there a proxy in between my thing and you?
Right, and it's basically because the person you'll be talking to is going to be you and the customer who has this application who's just an employee at the other office. And meanwhile, now the IT department at the other office is now involved somehow, even though they didn't need to be involved. Now they are because their proxy server is interfering with this business that's going on.
Yeah.
And it's just oh, God damn it, you guys. Why you got to do this?
One of the jobs I had at IBM a long time ago was setting up and maintaining SOX proxies through our OS2 warp systems for factory automation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I never really want to interact with that world again. Those are dark times.
Well, SOX is isn't it a way to proxy anything, any
yes,
TCP/IP?
It's a generic. In the days before modern ways of doing VPNs and things, that was you could just proxy anything to anywhere with arbitrary rules. But you have to install a SOX proxy on the local PC and set it up, and it was complicated.
There's also the reverse proxy, which is usually used when you're the one who has the web server. So I set up a website, and I want to make a whole bunch of web servers, right? Because I have a lot of traffic I need to handle. So instead of making one big server, I make a whole bunch of little ones. And then I set up a reverse proxy. So now when people make a request to my website, they don't go to any of these web servers. They go and connect to the reverse proxy, which is then will make the request to one of my hidden web servers that are hiding in my LAN. And then it will cache those responses going out. So it's sort of now I've got an HTTP proxy on the server end and not on the user end. And it's helping me out in the reverse direction. So that's why it's called a reverse
Huge help.
But it really does mostly the same thing.
But think about this. Then you can change your internal infrastructure completely arbitrarily, and no one outside ever needs to know.
Yeah, they're just making the same HTTP request to the same server, load balancer, whatever it is, and everything that you do is behind it somewhere. And there you go.
Now, fancier people will use routers and network level devices to do that at the network level with extremely high performance and reliability.
Well, there's a lot of different things you can do,
Yeah.
right? Depending, if you
but
don't-
like for a lot of web
like
services,
just routing won't get you any caching, right? So it depends on what you want. You can
Yeah, it
also
does.
route to a whole bunch of different caches. You
Yep.
can set up all sorts of different architectures there with the reverse proxy.
so yeah, proxies.
They're pretty interesting. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can have fun with. I recommend at your house. Here's the best thing you can do if you want to learn about these is to set one up for fun. And what you do is at your house, you got a wireless network, I bet. You probably do. Set up a separate wireless network for your guests. Most home routers that aren't garbage can do this, right? So like if you come to Rim's house, there'll be like Geek Guest and there'll be another one, right?
Yep.
If you come to my house, same thing. I got like 4 different wireless networks for different, one for me, one for everyone else. And then 2 on 5 gigahertz and 2 on the other ones. Anyway, so on the guest one, set up a HTTP proxy. So anyone on that wireless LAN using that SSID, all their HTTP traffic goes through the proxy. Configure that proxy so that anybody who's using that guest network, all the images on any website they visit are replaced with cats, dogs, goatsy, whatever. And then invite some friends over and see how long it takes. Someone's like on their iPhone. They're like, what's the wireless password? Oh,
Now
So-
think about how this will mess them up from like a user perspective. It won't mess up with their emails.
Yep.
So like if they email the link, depending on how they
Well,
access
it could,
things.
yeah, it depends a lot. But any HTTPs with IMG, SRC, any image requests that go over
Yup.
HTTP will return the wrong image.
But
and it'll
think
be
you'll have some friends.
hilarious.
Some of your friends will be connected to the Wi-Fi. Some of them probably like know your password and are connected to the real one because they're better friends. So they can even be like, "It's fine on my phone."
Yeah, look, here, see, it's working just fine.
Yeah, maybe you got the cat virus. I heard that's going around. So for $50, I'll fix it.
A good time will be had by all.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.